Okay, so ever feel like, you're thrown into a challenge before you're ready? Kind of like being told, hey, you're in charge now.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what Povestea, Louis Harap Alb is all about. It's like Romania's version of those classic hero stories, but with some seriously cool twists.
Right?
We're going deep into this Romanian literary treasure. And get this, our source is like a secret study guide for their big high school exams.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, it's like we've got the cheat codes to understanding a whole culture.
I like it. And you're spot on about the hero's journey part. The author, Ion Crianga, he's their Mark Twain, their Hans Christian Andersen. To really get Romania, you got to get Crianga.
So true. Okay, so picture this. The youngest prince, not exactly leadership material yet, gets tricked into this crazy deal with this villain, or Span. Yeah, and this Span guy, he's as tricky as his name sounds. It's one of those be careful what you wish for situations, except with Romanian flair. What I find fascinating is how Crianga uses that classic hero's journey, but then kind of flips the script. Take the hero's name, Harap Alb. It means white Moor. Talk about a contradiction. Right off the bat, Crianga's making us question everything we think we know about heroes and villains.
That's true. He really does that well. It's like he's saying, don't judge a book by its cover or a hero by his name.
Right. Wow, I totally missed that. It's like a hidden message or something.
Totally. Crianga uses those familiar fairy tale elements, but he's actually talking about real stuff. Things we all go through, facing our fears, learning to trust our instincts.
Which, let's be honest, sometimes lead us to some interesting characters, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And speaking of characters, can we talk about this cast? I mean, we've got Harap Alb, our hero, who definitely goes through some growing pains.
Yeah, some growing pains for sure.
Yeah. Then there's Spenel, the villain you kind of love to hate. And then, hold on to your hats, folks, because this is where it gets really wild. Harap Alb gets help from some seriously strange characters. Darila, Oxila, Satila. Even their names sound like it'd be a wild time.
They really do.
Yeah.
But remember, in fairy tales, things are rarely what they seem on the surface. These aren't just quirky sidekicks. They actually represent different parts of ourselves, don't they?
Oh, I like that. Okay, so Jarila, with that name, he's got to be.
He's that raw strength we all have inside.
Okay, makes sense.
Ochila is all about seeing the big picture, the long game.
So I need an Ochila in my life, like yesterday.
Right. And then there's Satila.
Satila. Okay, I'm drawing the line.
He's that gut feeling, that voice that says, hey, pay attention.
Okay, so they're like walking, talking metaphors. Each one a different way to tackle a challenge.
Precisely. And Crianga uses these fantastical characters to remind us that everyone has unique strengths. Sometimes it's about recognizing those strengths in ourselves, and sometimes it's about knowing when to call for backup, just like Harap Alb does. Think about it. When was the last time you needed a Satila in your life?
Oh man, all the time. If only I had Satila on speed dial, right? But this brings up a good point. We've talked about how Crianga uses those classic fairy tale things, but what makes his writing so special? Like, what makes it stand out?
It's the way he uses language. Imagine, you're by a crackling fire, listening to a master storyteller.
Ooh, I love that.
That's what reading Crianga is like. He captures the rhythm, the heart of everyday Romanian speech. It's full of these proverbs and sayings, those little nuggets of wisdom that have been passed down for generations.
So it's not just a story, it's like a whole cultural experience, right?
Exactly. And by weaving in those elements of oral storytelling, Crianga creates this amazing connection with the reader. You're not just reading words on a page. You're experiencing the story as if it were being told directly to you, full of warmth and humor and that little spark of magic that only a truly gifted storyteller can bring.
It's incredible how these stories can be so simple yet so deep at the same time.
It really is.
Okay, so we've got this basic plot, these awesome characters, and Crianga's unique style. But what's the bigger picture? What's the takeaway for our listeners?
That's where Harap Alb really shines. It works on so many levels. On the surface, it's a thrilling adventure, but dig a little deeper and you find these profound insights into human nature, the challenges we all face.
Okay, I'm ready to dig deeper. Let's unpack those layers. So this study guide we have, it mentions maturation as a big theme in Harap Alb. What's that mean, like, in the context of this story, and why should we even care?
Ooh, good question. And yeah, maturation, that's the core of it. But it's not just Harap Alb growing up, it's more universal than that. It's like being thrown into the deep end, messing things up, but coming out stronger.
Yeah.
We've all been there. Right?
For sure. Who hasn't felt totally in over their head?
Right. And Crianga captures that so well with Harap Alb. He starts naive, kind of clueless even, good intentions, but easily tricked. Not exactly ready to rule a kingdom.
Yikes, yeah, when you put it that way. Kind of scary, right? Handed all that power before you're ready.
Exactly. But that's where growth happens.
Yeah.
Pushed outside your comfort zone. That's Harap Alb's whole deal. Trials, betrayal, danger. And through it all, he learns to trust himself.
And that's where that White Moor name plays in, doesn't it? Constantly underestimated just because of how he looks.
Exactly.
Oh.
Appearance is deceiving, right?
Yeah.
True strength comes from within. He's going to prove himself, not because of his title, but his character, resilience, learning. That's powerful stuff.
Totally. Like that saying, don't judge a book, but
Yep.
way deeper. But speaking of challenges, we can't forget Span, our trickster villain, always throwing obstacles in the way. How's that help Harap Alb mature, though?
See, that's Kriyanga's genius. Even the villain, annoying as he is, he's crucial to the hero's journey. Think of Span as the ultimate test. Forces Harap Alb to dig deep, find strength he didn't know he had.
It's like that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but with, like, a Span twist.
Exactly. Span's trickery, it backfires.
Yeah.
It forces Harap Alb to be more resourceful, more resilient, more cunning, twisted mentorship almost.
Totally. It's like Spen's accidentally making him a better leader by being a pain.
And isn't that how it goes sometimes? We learn most from obstacles, from tough situations.
So Spen, the villain, actually helps Harap Alb grow. That's kind of wild.
It is. Shows how stories work. Even the bad guys have a purpose. But hey, let's not forget those other mentors. Harap Alb's got those fantastical helpers, Jarila, Uchila, Satila. We touched on them, but they're worth a deeper look.
Oh, for sure. They're so much fun. Like, each one's a superpower we could all use more of.
Right. Jarila, with his strength, he's that raw power, perseverance. We all have it in us. Sometimes you just got to muscle through.
He's like that friend you call when you got to move, like a piano or something.
Exactly. Then there's Okila, with his vision. He's all about the big picture, thinking ahead,
Yeah.
strategy.
Ooh, if only I had an Ochila for, like, life planning.
Right. And then Satila.
Satila, he's that gut feeling again, right?
Yes. Intuition, knowing when something's right, even if you can't explain it.
He's the friend who always knows the best restaurants, shortcuts, everything.
And that's what's great about how Krianda does this. None of them are better. Each has a strength, valuable in different ways. It's about us recognizing that in ourselves and others and knowing when to lean on it.
So it's about teamwork, even if your team's like a giant and a guy who sees the future.
Exactly. We're stronger together. Embrace those unique strengths. Support each other. That's how we overcome challenges.
This fairy tale's blowing my mind with these life lessons.
Right. That's Harap Alb for you. Entertaining, but also challenging. Makes you think differently.
Makes you wonder what other gems are hidden in Romanian folklore, right?
Oh, tons. That's the beauty of exploring different cultures' literature. Opens your mind. But we've been diving deep for a while now, ready to come up for air. We'll be right back to explore why Harap Alb still matters today, even in our modern world. Don't go anywhere.
And we're back. Picking up right where we left off, diving deep into Harap Alb.
Back into the depths.
We've uncovered hidden meanings, met some truly unforgettable characters, and even learned a bit of Romanian wisdom along the way.
It's been a journey, that's for sure.
It really has. But as we resurface from this sea of Romanian folklore, I've got one last question for you. You've clearly spent a lot of time with this story. What is it about Harap Alb that still resonates with readers today? What makes it more than just a, dusty old fairy tale?
That's the beauty of these classic tales, isn't it? They tap into something timeless within us. Something that speaks to the human experience, no matter what century it is, what language we speak.
It's like those universal truths we keep coming back to: challenges, self-discovery, the connections we make. These are things we all experience, right?
Exactly. And fairy tales like Harap Alb, with that blend of fantasy and reality, they give us this framework for exploring those truths. They're like a mirror, reflecting our own struggles and triumphs back to us.
So it's not just a prince fighting a villain. It's about something much deeper. Our own desire for growth, for connection.
Exactly. And don't forget the power of how Kriunga tells the story. The language, the descriptions, that warmth and humor. It all creates this experience that feels familiar and magical at the same time.
It's like those proverbs he uses. Like, he's sharing these little bits of wisdom passed down for generations. We become part of that tradition just by reading.
Exactly. Harap Alb is a work of art that stays with you. It sparks your imagination, reminds you of the power of human connection.
So, as we say goodbye to Harap Alb, Span, and that whole incredible cast, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this deep dive?
It's simple, really. I hope this inspires you to explore stories with a fresh perspective. Look for those hidden depths, those universal truths, those moments of wonder that connect us all.
Beautifully said.
And who knows, maybe you'll even be inspired to discover your own Harap Alb, a story that speaks to your soul and stays with you long after you've finished it.
I love that. Well, until next time, everyone, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the stories that make us human.